Let's start off by introducing Megan. Can you tell a little bit of the audience who you are, where you're from, about your film, and who you're with?
Yes, thank you so much, Antonio, for having me, and for the festival for showing Pride Jewel. My name is Megan Louise Thill. I'm an actor and producer living in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we shot Pride Jewel in 2020, and I'm excited to talk about it today. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Is there anybody else with you that's associated with the film right now?
Not on the line at the moment, but we may have one of our lead actors join in a little bit, so I'll let you know when he's here.
All right, looking forward to it. Let's start asking some questions. The first thing that intrigues me, that caught my attention, was that quote. And I guess that quote to me was like, I guess it made me ponder as to where this film was going and the meaning behind it. And the quote was, "Life was a choice between love and money. One brings comfort, one brings peace." Can you describe a little bit of where you got that quote from? And was that like an inspiration or a kind of like a thread into this film, if I may ask?
Thanks for asking the question. So since I'm not the screenwriter, I'm not going to take credit for the quote, but I did see that Sarkis Bakalyan just joined us, who is our lead actor and actually got to deliver that line in the film. So Sarkis, did you hear the question, and would you be willing to comment on that? Kind of what went into that line for you?
Like Megan said, I can't speak on behalf of Armen Dilanchian, the screenwriter, but those words that were written in the script, what that spoke to my character, I would say, because he was naive from the beginning, coming to America and slowly realizing what he had gotten into. It was his innocence blooming into experience in a sense. So he was figuring things out, and as anybody growing up, we don't know what we're necessarily getting into until we actually do it ourselves. So in that regard, he definitely saw the wedding happening, and he realized, am I making a big mistake during that big heist scene? So it is definitely involving experience and growing up, and that's a huge part of this story. I think a big inspiration that Armen and I discussed was A Bronx Tale, a great film regarding two father figures playing this tug of war between this kid growing up, who's gonna be the better father. And at the end of the movie, you realize, well, to some extent, they both taught him something, right? So.
Absolutely well said. Absolutely love that. And I agree with you 100%. When I saw this film, that's exactly what I captured and what you delivered to the audience. And I absolutely love that. I loved your performance as well. And that message was definitely portrayed and conveyed throughout the film. Absolutely amazing work. A question for Miss Megan. The scenery was gorgeous and beautiful throughout the whole film. Can you explain to some of the audience and some of the current and upcoming directors what was the process like securing these locations? And can you explain where this film was made, or where it was filmed?
Yeah, definitely. So the film was shot in and around the Bay Area in San Francisco, but primarily in Benicia, California, which is more in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. And yeah, I mean, in terms of location scouting, of course, that's always, something you really need to nail, and because it's how you're going to see the whole movie. So there are a number of establishments, the wonderful museum that we shot at, certainly the Jefferson Mansion in Benicia, which is just wonderful, and a number of the driving scenes which you saw were actually in downtown Benicia, so beautiful lights. It was just really wonderful. The marina there too was really lovely. Some private residences as well in the Bay Area, but I mean, getting permits, even things that for any other producers out there, I'm sure you can appreciate, even being able to shoot some of the artwork that was just in public places. You need to get permission to do that. So I think, that's why a lot of planning goes into pre-production and accounting for, we actually had to change one of our locations while we were getting ready to shoot within a 2-week period of time. So just really have to be nimble and make good relationships, develop rapport with people. And so you can, be nimble if you need to.
Wow, absolutely love that. Wonderfully said. Um, my next question was, you had mentioned production and how long it takes to produce, to bring together actors, writers, set designers. How long was the process and how long was the production for this film?
Sure. Well, if Armen was here, Armen Dilanchian, our screenwriter, he would say it takes years and years and years because he had had the idea for this script and had written it several years before. But in terms of the actual while we were shooting, it was over the course of about 2 weeks, little more than 2.5 weeks. So it was jam packed for the feature that you saw, which is pretty incredible. And especially not to mention smack dab in the middle of COVID, no vaccines around or anything like that. So it was really, really, really fast. But in terms of pre-production leading up to it, let's see, we shot in July. I mean, we had been, meeting, of course, and planning all this beginning part of the year. So I would say maybe 6 to 8 months leading up to that as well. And I'm sure there was more going on behind the scenes even before I was involved. But and then, the film is actually going to be released on several platforms on May 3rd. So May 3rd, 2022, it will come out. We did do a private premiere for our cast and crew back in June of last year so that they could see it. And then, of course, you go through all the post-production and distribution, sending of materials and all that kind of stuff. So we're really, really excited for it to be released to the nation this year.
Awesome. I absolutely love that. Congratulations. And I absolutely love everything about this film. Let me dive into it. I guess from the beginning, I guess I can relate to Sarkis, since he's one of the actors in the film, the main actor. The culture shock, I saw a different, from your character, once he went from his hometown to America, there was like a sense of a culture shock. You had mentioned before in the last question that it was a form of naivety towards the character, like he wasn't aware as much as how the different culture shocks and the different societies work, especially in America. And what is the acceptance that you, the main character, what made you accept to be involved in that deal, in that routine, speaking on society and cultures? Like, what was that for you, like, as you were going with the main villain, the protagonist of the film?
Yeah, so as an Armenian American growing up here in America, I never got a chance to actually be raised in Armenia, but I have visited once before, and it is a very poverty-stricken country. There's a lot going on there politically that people don't agree with. There's a reason why there's such a huge diaspora of Armenians around the world. And so I think that encapsulates when, my character comes to America after especially a huge earthquake. Being poverty stricken, that's hard to come back from. So, you move to a different country and you try to adapt to these different cultures. And that scene when he just tries to call Sophia, he's like, oh, hey, how you doing? I just want to hear your voice, all that stuff. It's very different, and he doesn't grasp that idea until later. But working with, Cyrus being like this big mobster fellow, he definitely takes the role of a secondary father to Andre, because he doesn't necessarily trust his actual father. So he takes, trust in this Cyrus. So when he does try and fit in with that crew of, robbers, he trusts them. He feels comfortable with them, knowing that his actual father didn't do much for him. So it's definitely a characteristic of adaptability, as well as, as you said, culture shock. It's definitely it's new to him, but he feels comfort in knowing that sometimes new is better.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And floating on what you said from that, another line that I guess I grasped that came to me, and I kind of, you know, made me wonder and think was, when you cross the sea to meet the devil, that line echoes through many people who are struggling, you know, and what you had mentioned before, easy money, right? And the cycles that it creates in doing that decision, and being naive, and sometimes, like what this film is portraying, is not having that father figure, that family, you know, in a sense, that can guide you, and even if you do have that father figure, you know, us as humans are flawed in so many ways and in so many aspects, and sometimes, you know, one little detail can spur and create a whole different scenario. But I absolutely love the film. The filming was amazing, amazing direction, amazing production, producing, amazing actors. You guys did amazing. I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you guys want to plug in? Megan, I know you mentioned that you're gonna be releasing it. Maybe you guys can type into the live chat. That way people can go to your release dates, to your channels, and they'll be able to follow you and view the film.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you again so much for having us. Also, you know, just want to give a shout out to our director, Doug Thompson. I mentioned our DP, Jonathan Salazar, before. Certainly Armen Dilanchian, screenwriter and producer, and Jake Vincent, who is not here, also, who played Cyrus, and just a wonderful group of actors. John Boo did our sound, and Max Eckstein also was our gaffer, and he was just, and key grip, I mean, just wonderful. So wonderful team. I will definitely put in the chat how you can get a hold of us. Pay attention, May 3rd will be coming out on Amazon, Google Play, Vudu, Apple TV and iTunes, Tubi, Pluto, and cable TV is in the works. Potentially Netflix, we'll see about some of those, but pre-ordering hopefully will happen in April. So yes, thank you so much for having us.
Awesome, awesome.
And I do want to add on top of that, 4D Legacy Studios will be working on a few new projects, so stay tuned.
Yes.
All right. Absolutely love it. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that information. The audience, I'm sure, is going to get a lot of it and love it.
Pride Jewel, rated R, May 3rd on Amazon, Vudu, Apple TV, and Google Play.